My name is Clau Rocha, and I'll be sharing excerpts and reflections and whatever other thoughts on my thesis titled Do Ghosts Cast Shadows? An exploration of select archives using ritual practice and intuitive work. As a preface to this talk, there is a content warning for needles, blood, and self-tattooing. I wish I could give this talk and confidently say that through my research, I've become a bit of an expert on a specific event, a point in time, or for a piece of history. I have not. In reality, I don't think I've gotten anywhere near that point. Instead, I have become quite comfortable in my role as a practitioner. Instead, I have been developing various definitions for process and documentation, and instead, I am still learning to be comfortable with not knowing. Here I am, just a body learning to listen to the gut, to the echo of a pitch-black cave, and to the quiet fumbling of throwing bones on dirt. This work consists of intentionally collecting segments, forming a constellation of information that tenderly holds pockets of space that should feature stars. I am concerned with two archives primarily, my own and that of Diana Solis. Correction. My concern is with specific bits of each, seemingly insignificant, but their inherent significance has become overabundant and overflowing through a process of care and attention, and my efforts to exclaim, I see you, I know you, you're my family, even if I don't know your name. You'd probably expect that I'd share discoveries of information I've made in relation to these particular archives. Of course, in our Western culture of academia, that would make sense. To produce information, to immediately be placed in official forms of record keeping that will then likely only be accessible to a select few in often inaccessible forms and inaccessible language. I don't think that matters. I don't think these archives matter because of the spots they could potentially fit on a bookshelf. This information matters because it matters, because it matters, because it matters, because it exists. I could tell you what ritual means to me, and I could tell you what archives mean to me, and what should be done about them, and I could tell you to remember the yellow roses, and to remember to light your candles, and to remember your gods even when you don't recognize them. And I could tell you exactly how poorly tattooing myself with little to no experience has any relevance to anything else I have mentioned. But I won't, at least not directly, or not yet. Instead, I am going to take this opportunity to share a few pieces of written work that likely reflect my spoken word poetry background and allow others to sit with these segments and collected bits in their lap. You can attempt to connect the pieces, or you can let them exist as their own entities. Either way, they exist, they exist, they exist. Excerpt from my essay titled Finding Home in the Faces of Ghosts. I remember quite distinctly the moment I first saw the photos that would absolutely swallow my thesis work and alter the way I thought of myself in relation to both the future and the past. The first photo was of a masked woman in a costume gown made of heavy fabrics, crouching amongst the cave formations. Folder F58, photo 001. This is a black and white photo with very to little no context, other than the photo surrounding it on the film contact sheet. I assume her mask, reminiscent of Mexican folkloric arts, was made out of wood or perhaps some heavy-duty papier-mâché that had some weight to it, and was meant to represent a demon or the devil himself. I fell in love with her instantly. And then I saw the second photo. A woman with face paint wearing a costume of fur, holding herself in such a way I believe she was mid-song, mid-dance, mid-scream, mid-action, projecting into the darkness. This photo is beautiful and terrifying in a way I struggle to articulate, but I guess that's how I found myself here, in the depths of thesis research, frantically trying to fill in the gaps and know her. These photos, taken by Diana Solis, document a ritual performance event during the 4th Encuentro Feminista Latinoamericano y del Caribe in 1987, Taxco, Mexico. When I first encountered these negatives as part of a class, I had no idea that this feminist conference series even existed, Where I stand now, after numerous dead ends and several surprise and accidental discoveries, I still cannot name these performers. In some ways, this makes me feel like a failure, like I am doing these people a disservice. But I know they exist. Diana knew them, and these people likely are still making art and contributing to their communities, though perhaps not inside a cave anymore. So how can I know these performers? I see these photos and I feel such a stark and instant connection, and I've realized it's because I am staring at my lineage. I've become so accustomed to Latinx and Latin American femme artists not being properly represented in archives or them being condensed to fit a homogeneous and non-queer timeline that seeing these performers felt as if I had laid eyes on long-lost relatives assumed dead. But here they were, frozen in these negatives, and I wish so badly to know them. And yet I do. I know these people. I cannot name them, but something at the back of my throat and deep in my core recognizes these performers as familial. And I have come to accept that this is valid. This is a legitimate way to enter and explore and find meaning in archival information, to recognize and to listen to intuition, and allow for imagination to lead the way through these points in time. For as much as this is my past, this is also my future, and as I stare at the negatives and somehow try to manifest dancing with face paint in a dark cave outside of Mexico City, this is my present. This is happening right now. Let me scream into the hundreds and thousands of dusty rolls of film, I know you, welcome home. Excerpt from my concept statement for my installation done at the graduate exhibition. Do ghosts cast shadows? In an effort to answer this question, I decided to utilize ritual action as methodology. This ritual began with assembling of a dedicated altar, reminiscent of the simplistic familial mausoleum my paternal grandparents have been laid to rest in Michoacan, Mexico. Adorning the ofrenda with portraits and other objects continues the ritual action, taking much care in placement and showing respect. This is where I begin to materialize the question of ghosts and shadows. By covering everything in dirt, I simultaneously create a grave and obstruct the need for one, forcing the cyclical narrative where I destroy the sanctity of the ritual while also enforcing a new ritual, and perhaps the need for one. I do not have the comfort of knowing where my loved ones will rest. When my father one day passes away, the question of burial in his homeland becomes not only a pressing and emotional matter, but a practical one. Borders and regulations, migration and home, and entitlement and life and death to one's land, to one's tierra, this is all compressed and brought to light, or perhaps consumed by a pile of dirt. So I project the action, the ritual, over the afterwards, the what has already been lost, as a means of contending with the inherent violence that is tied to a migratory identity within the U.S., specifically that of one of Latin American descent, while also attempting to create a shadow of memory, of sacred, of dignified action where oftentimes there is not. So here lies a forever in-between. In Ouroboros of graveyard and homeland, may Guatlicue always tell her serpent heads from her serpent arms, and may she remember to show us mercy, even when the candles burn out. Excerpt from Reflection on Divination Ritual. Sometimes I forget what it means to have community, to be in the warmth of others. List of things that mean everything to me, no something to someone momentarily, no not as much as they should, no magic could happen here. Half an eggshell, red wooden pendant of the devil with the Hecho in Mexico sticker on the back, handmade pin with a picture of colonial man in the script, angry queer, glittery 20-sided die, dried and flattened marigold, cow, 2 keys on a ring, 2-pronged greenstone ear weights, handmade clay pin with a blonde face and brunette face, blue glitter capsule, black glitter capsule, vial of cat whiskers, pendant of a porcelain face with sun rays, unpolished crystal meant for a pendulum, polished crystal meant for a pendulum, an east star, about 2/3 of a dried orange, about 1/3 of a dried orange, shell from the Puget Sound, stone of unknown origin, stone of unknown origin, stone of known origin, and an unexpected addition, screw found in the storage room of the Flaxman Library. Sometimes I forget what it means to have community, to be in the warmth of others. I took the items and promised they would mean something, that we would find meaning. Every time the items fell in the dirt, I could hear my heartbeat ringing and my ears pounding. Be it the fear of magic or the fear of the absence of magic, I'm not sure. I've been here before, but it was in the quiet of the floor of my room. I used snake bones. Carefully, I painted each bone so I would not forget, so I would not forget, so I would not forget. And then they were forgotten anyways. The last time I used the bones, the bone used to represent my connection with magic, with spirituality, it broke in half. I cried, and I put the snake bones in a small black cloth bag, and I let them collect dust. Forgotten anyways. Magic could happen here. Magic happened here. Magic was here, I think. I didn't know what to expect. All I knew was this was my opportunity to experiment, to make wonders a reality, and to be in the warmth of others I hadn't gotten to know, and I hadn't allowed to know me. Finally, on my level, on our hands and knees in the dirt, let us be vulnerable, and let us laugh, and let us be vulnerable, and let us be friends, and let us be familiar strangers in a cold gallery, careful to not let the dirt spill and only spill secrets. This was simply my attempt to build an ephemeral community, one stitched together with a suggestion of magic, or maybe just words I made up. Forgotten anyways. As I complete my tattoo, I'd like to say that this was a ritual for me, imperfect and embracing the mistakes. I have not studied under an apprenticeship, and I have not practiced nearly enough. I was sanitary, and I was hopeful. I just wanted to document a bit of an archive that has come to mean a lot to me in an alternative way. This design is derived from the wooden mask I described in my essay. This tattoo was not done well. This tattoo will not heal well, but it exists as a part of me now, scarring my body and etching the silhouette of ghosts.